from the Cajun capital of the world.
I'm the average Lafayette, Louisiana kid.
See, I'm back on my...
Hey, fellas. Hey, Raging Review said, congratulations. Say what's up, y'all. Yeah!
People that have courage don't have no extra gene. There's no difference in you. The difference is, are you going to sit down when it's time to stand up?
Welcome in to another edition of Raging Review. Nick and Mike in tonight. Jerry's going to be joining us in a little bit. But it's a happy Thursday night for us as we got a big win over the Cougars of the University of Houston. Mike, what is going on, buddy? How are you?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm reading through these messages, and yes, I can see messages before we go on air. But Elliot still want to do a watch party, man. You just gotta show up. You just gotta show up. And by the way, what is this, Elliot? Y'all talking about I like to build things triggering Terry. What's going on, man? Are you talking about the intro? I mean, I didn't have anybody who left us on the intro, and I certainly didn't have that video on the intro. But I mean, intros are not easy to make, man. We go through them once a year. I change it up a little bit. Well, y'all just gonna have to wait if y'all trying to clown me on the intro. I think the sound's pretty good. I think Josh did a really good job on that. But boys and girls, ladies and germs, we will get to it in just a second. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got to talk about the Houston Cougars. We've got to talk about the Texas State Bobcats coming up in a few days, actually in a couple of days. So, and we're going to talk about Louisiana Tech. We're going to have Dave Schultz from the Sunbelt podcast that he runs on a little bit later to talk about the Louisiana Tech Coosa drama. A lot of stuff going on tonight. We'll talk about it right after this. We've got to thank our sponsors. We'll be right back. We'd like to thank the following partners who make Raging Review possible. Our title sponsor, the Best Stop Family Market, with locations in Katy and Baytown, Texas, Toledo Bend, Karen Crow, and of course the official location opened in 1986 in Scott. Visit the Best Stop and ask about the Raging Review tailgate platters. Gulf Coast Bank, title sponsor of the Tailgate Show every Saturday, 3 hours before kickoff. Planet Radio 106.7, Lafayette Roofing, The Yard Goat, Yes Please Branding and Marketing, Old Time Grocery, Stride Safety Solutions, Eat Lafayette, brought to you by Lafayette Travel, Raging Hydration, and Dr. Brett Venable at Recovery Chiromed. And we'd also like to thank our Patreon sponsors listed here. For only $2 a month, you too could have early access to uncut interviews before they air here on our shows. You also get an exclusive Patreon icon next to your name on Cajun Threads, the official message form for Raging Review. If you are interested in joining as a Patreon, visit us at patreon.com/Raging Review. Thanks to all of our corporate and Patreon sponsors for making this show possible. And kind of funny, last night, some of the fans asked me if I had brought some Best Stop to the game, which I don't think they would have let me in. I barely got in. I had a box of Altoids in my pocket, and they have those little metal detectors, and it didn't like my box of Altoids, so I had to go through twice. So I don't know if it would have, they would have smelled the Best Stop on me, but no, I unfortunately couldn't get any of that good boudin to the stadium last night. But let's talk about last night's game. Louisiana gets a 6-3 win over the Cougars of the University of Houston. Just quick recap: Riley Jackson got things started for Houston with a homer to left in the second inning off of Ty Roman, who started the game for the Cajuns, who I thought had a pretty good game on the bump. Drew Markle double to right field to score Noah Lewis in the top of the third. So as soon as we give up one run, we come back and we score two because Lee Amadei wasn't done with scoring in the third inning. He singled to second, and Drew Markle scored on that RBI from Lee. In the top of the fourth, Colt Brown with his first home run as a Cajun. Boy, he pimped that one out. I kind of like the slow jog across the bases. I like it when it's not our team doing it, but it was a nice little bat flip. He flipped the bat towards our dugout, so that's okay. If he's celebrating with our guys, I'm good with that. But Colt got his first homer of the year and got to see it in person, which was pretty cool. But the Cajuns up 3-1. The Cougars battled back in the bottom of the sixth inning. Trey Broussard singled up the middle to score a Cougar to make the score 3-2. And then let's pull the next one up because we do have another file with the scoring that I want to show you guys. And if you're asking where am I getting this from, the Diamond, I think it's called the Diamond Cast app. Dude, amazing. If you are a college baseball fan, go right now and download it on the App Store because I'm showing you what the app looks like when you pull it up. Karsten Sabathia. By the way, nobody talked about it. Sabathia is CC Sabathia's son. You know, GOAT pitcher for the Yankees. CC Sabathia. Yeah, this is his son, Karsten Sabathia III. He singled to score Perez in the bottom of the eighth, tied things up. And then, you know, a very reminiscent, Mike, of the wins we've had earlier in the season against teams like DBU, against teams like Maryland, where the bullpen completely collapses, but we take advantage of it and score 3 runs with, I think there was one hit in that inning, score 3 runs. There was a wild pitch that we scored on, a fielder's choice. After they loaded the bases with their Saturday starter that they brought in, might I tell you. But it was very reminiscent about of earlier games that we've had this season and the way we had to kind of grind it out. But in the end, it was Louisiana 6, Houston 3. Mike, anything outside of the amazing ability of a certain closer for Louisiana, which we'll talk about in a second. But let's talk about how fun that game was to watch and frustrating through a lot of it as well last night, Mike.
Absolutely. That was, you go the first 2 innings, our bats, we don't do anything in the box the first 2 innings. We give up a home run, and it wasn't until, the third we started chipping away. Lewis starting with the bunt, Markle with a really huge double that scored. Lee's hit to second base was pretty hard. And like you said, Brown's first home run of the year, really good for him. He ended up going 2 for 5 with 2 ribbies. So he's so clutch. He has been so consistent at the top the whole entire season so far. Ty Roman, outside of the home run, he really shut them down from the 3rd to the 5th inning. I think at one point he retired 12 straight. Completely, he looks way better in the midweek role. I thought he threw really well. Just outside the home run, he now leads the pitchers in 6 home runs, giving up 6 home runs. So that, I would like for him to limit that. Overall, I think he's a better fit for the midweek because later on down, if we push that regional, we're going to need as much arms as we can. And having Ty Roman in that 4th role might be big for us down the road. So I thought he threw really well. We had a little hiccup with Tyler Pappenbrock, Garrett Carter. Cody Brash really highlighted the game, finishing off the game, 2 2/3, 5 strikeouts. Just a complete, really good showing from him.
And bases loaded with 1 out, and he got out of that jam with no runs scored. That's a man. He came in with a mission.
Absolutely. That was huge. His
stuff is sick when you watch it in person, and I'm laughing with Renee because he grunts. I mean, the guy's throwing mid-90s to upper. I mean, he hit 98, I think, on one of his pitches last night. And then he comes back with, I think it's a slider at about 85, 86, and there's nothing they can do with that. But Renee was there last night. I'll give us some shout-outs in a second. But, yeah, Brash, he grunts like Monica Seles on every pitch, but he's also bringing a lot of heat. So I guess, that's part of what he does. But I do want to talk about, and welcome, Jerry. Glad you were able to join us. I know you had some things going on, but, I always love going to other ballparks because you appreciate the old Teague and the new Teague, and you appreciate everything and how everything is set up. And it's very easy to take it for granted, right? Because we're in that every single weekend. But looking at Houston, when we went there in 1999, which was the year before we made it to the 2000 World Series, obviously, because that's 99, 2000. But that year, we made it to the Supers against Rice in the Superdome. We won the first game and lost the next two. However, that was like the second year that the University of Houston had this ballpark newly built, and we won that regional to face off against Rice. And that regional, that we thought that was just the nicest stadium we'd ever seen. You have to think we're going from the Teague, old Teague, to the University of Houston. But when I visited it last night, I was kind of taken aback. It felt so big back in the day. And I guess it's because nobody was there. Because I tell you, I kind of joked around. We were outnumbered them 3-1. It was at least 50-50 in that stadium. And there was no one in that stadium. Lots of Cajun fans on our side, but there was really, when I would walk around, go to the bathroom, get a little beverage, a little adult beverage that costs $17.95 for a beer. That's a whole nother thing. But when you're walking around the stadium, you saw the Louisiana gear. You didn't see a whole lot of University of Houston stuff, except for the two older people that I guess own the two seats right in front of us, and they were not going to move. And I think they got a little annoyed in the 8th inning by my screaming the entire game, so they left. Super nice couple, but I think they had enough of me. But it's just to say that it's a nice stadium, but when you go back to the Teague as it is now, it's you can't compare it. And we're talking, they're a Big 12 program, big time, right? They can't compare to the Teague whatsoever. Nice ballpark, nothing wrong with it, but very small compared to what we have, and also not really many updated amenities. But nice for what it is, I would say.
I want to comment on that, Nick. Did you go to the 2015 regional in Houston?
No, I watched it. I watched the bat flip from home.
Mike, were you there? So I had the chance to go. I missed the first game, but I was able to go to the Houston game because remember, if you guys recall, the regional weekend got pushed back a day because of thunderstorms. So instead of playing in the winners bracket on Saturday, we played on Sunday, which allowed me to go to that game on Sunday. And I remember, obviously, both teams wear red, but the place was pretty packed. Ironically, we didn't get our first hit. I think Evan Powell got the first hit, I think sometime in like the 8th inning. And then when I saw the number of Cajun fans that stood up and cheered when that happened, I remember even back then looking around going, is this the Teague West? Because I feel like we have more fans than them at their regional.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a big baseball town when it comes to Rice and Houston. I mean, if we're being honest. It's just
it's crazy because the year before, they had gone to a super regional the same year we hosted one. And so they have a decent history in baseball, not as rich as what we have, but it's respectable. And in a city like Houston, you would think that they would have enough fan support, with the Astros. And like you said, it's not a big time college baseball town, but you would have thought they'd have enough fans hosting a regional. So I was thrown off even in 2015 when we went down there and besides the facility you talked about last night, outside of that little field house they built, that little clubhouse they built out in the left field.
Yeah.
But other than that, they really haven't done anything with the stadium since.
Shout out to Kobe Guidry in the chat tonight. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah. $17.95 for a big boy, a tall boy. And I mean, and that was a Mick Ultra. We didn't even get into the other stuff. But so for a Mick Ultra, it was $17.95. Of course, you want to tip the guy. They did allow him to walk through the stands, state of Louisiana, take notes. So he was going through the stands. The older couple in front of me who was from Houston were pissed off at the price. So I kind of laughed at that. I'm like, guy didn't make the price up, but he kind of bitched him out about it. But again, the atmosphere, it was all Louisiana. I chirped back a little bit with the Houston dugout. That was a little bit of fun. You guys peer pressured me into giving a go for the Cajuns back and forth. I did a ball for a couple times. What they chirped back at me on was the coach kept going out to the mound, and I in my stupid typical way, I was like, "Come on, coach, it's getting late. It's 9:30. I got work in the morning, homie." And then I heard when they play, go, "Hey, I got work in the morning, homie." So I enjoyed that. I thought that was really funny. I gave him a little standing O for that. But all in all, it was a lot of fun, and our fans made it fun. I think if our fans wouldn't have been there, it would be absolutely dead. Shout out to some of the folks that I saw out there. Brady Boudreaux, who's on Twitter, on X. He was there last night. It was great to meet him. Renee, who's in the chat right now, was there as well. He's always commenting on all our stuff, and it was good to meet him. He actually bought me one of those $40 tall boys, or however much you called it. Yeah, it cost him. So he was trying to get me drunk. Really cool. The coolest thing I gotta say, and then I'll wrap it up because I don't want to spend all night on Houston. But when at the end of the game, we're all hanging out. I had brought a guy from work that I work with, and then there were just people standing around, kind of waiting for the players. Some of the families were there, etc. And then this one guy came up, or this one lady came up and said, "Are you the podcast guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I thought it was one of our fans. Well, her husband watches us, and they have no ties to Louisiana, but their son, who is there, wants so badly to play for UL. He's a junior in high school. So they were decked out in UL gear. They had come out to the game. And I meant to ask him how did you become a Cajuns fan? And I'm pretty sure it was a Bat Bros thing, because when JT was playing at Rice, his brother came down and all the kids were excited to see the Bat Bros here. But it was really cool to see that, like, we don't think outside of, like, okay, we have our Louisiana fans here and like the people who left here, but you also do pick up fans and young fans outside of the area. We need to find a way to capitalize on that. And I think the Bat Bros is a perfect opportunity, especially with JT being an alumnus, a former player. I think our program needs to associate themselves with those types of things to get the younger fan base across the country. Also, got to send a shout out to my girl, Jill, not Lisa Morgan. I, for some reason, always call her Lisa, but Jill came sit by me last night. We FaceTimed Chase. He thought he was funny with his jokes, so he might be uninvited from our crawfish boil, but talked to Chase last night, hung out with Jill. Her husband, Alan, was there as well, but just, a great group of folks that made it out to the game and a lot of fun. Last thing I'll say, I actually want to ask you guys two questions. One, Mike, do you like the Roman stash? The Roman stash is starting to become a little bit elite. Do you like the Roman stash?
I do. It fits them. I like it. I like the style. Absolutely.
Renee, I thought you bought that beer for me. Apologize. Boudreaux, that's all you. Jerry, Roman stash, yay or nay?
I think it's like a kudos to like 1970s baseball, like that brashness, right? Like you look in the 1970s, they got the big dip, they're smoking cigarettes in the dugout. Like it kind of, I wasn't around in the 1970s, but I can about imagine like that was like cool back then. So any nostalgia is good as long as he plays well in it, like he did last night.
Dude's talking about the purple peacock. Holy shit. Then we start talking about the kingfish in Baton Rouge, colors on Johnson Street. Y'all don't know about colors on Johnson Street. Illusions in Scott. Y'all really don't know about Illusions in Scott. Your sister Ramey was all up into Illusions in Scott. Ask her about it when she has a chance. It's right there across from Coffee Depot. Ramey Beard knows about Illusions in Scott. Last thing I'm going to ask before we move on, Water Hose Boys, are we back or not? Are the Water Hose Boys back? Last year, not Water Hose Boys. This year, Mike, are we Water Hose Boys? Are we back?
Well, I think so. We're really extremely close. We're playing a really good ball without the long ball. We're scrappy. I think we are.
I think it was a roundup in Dusson, if I'm not mistaken. Jerry, are we back? Are the Water Hose Boys back?
As of right now, 100%. I mean, we're not even hitting the baseball that well. We're not hitting home runs. We're not hitting crazy line drives deep into left center or right center. We're manufacturing runs and we're finding ways to win on pitching and defense, and we're grinding our way to wins with aggressive base running. I mean, everything last night, I know I'm a little late here, but everything last night we scratched and clawed our way to earn. I mean, outside of the freebies they gave us, or Houston gave us in the 10th inning, every win we've had just about in the last couple weeks has been through just grinding and clawing, and and scrapping our way to win. And that's the definition of a water hose boy. So absolutely 100% the water hose boys are back.
All right. Well, I hope it continues. Shout out Kobe talking about illusions, colors, and CPR. Right,
Kobe might have DJ'd at some of those places.
Might have. And you had to have your hypercolor shirt on. That was the one where when it got hot, it changed colors. Like you could breathe on it and it changed colors. And then you rolled up your jeans, ball, your Z Cavaricis, or your Jabos. Oh yeah, those are back in the day. Well, Cajuns again get the win. It's a great RPI win for the Cajuns again against another power conference team that we are 7-0 against this season. Which is really, really good. Just call the Sun Belt a power conference because that's what we are in baseball right now. So just glad for how things turned out. A great time, late night. Wish we didn't have to go to extras. Sending the runner. I forgot which runner they sent that he looked a little bit injured. Who was it that was at second? He stole
Mark Collins.
Yeah, Collins. Yeah, he stole second, but as he rounded third, you could tell he was hurt. And it was a dead duck. I was yelling something
Nick,
at the umpire, but
I wanted to ask you, because you sat right next to the Cajun dugout. You know, last year the dugout lacked energy, and it reflected. I mean, it reflected on the record. It reflected getting spanked at home by some bad teams. How was the energy of the dugout from what you saw last
Same
night?
thing it was last weekend. Same thing it was the weekend before. Just loud, excited, having fun. I think I kind of helped because I was yelling stupid stuff. So they were loud. I gave poor little Munchrath. I don't think he would come out the dugout until after the game because right after the national anthem, Munchie's sitting there and they go, "Get him, Munchie! Let's go, Munchrath!" And everybody's laughing, and he's just like, I don't know who that is. I mean, he probably realized who I was, but I embarrassed him a little bit. But yeah, no, they were all into it, a lot of fun, chirping back and forth. It was a good time. So energy was good from the dugout. Let's turn our attention to Texas State, the Bobcats, the second set of kiddies that we play this weekend. Jerry, you got a preview of what we can expect against Texas State. Then we'll open it up and talk about things and about what we expect from the Cajuns this weekend.
No, of course. So a little bit about the Texas State Bobcats. Of course, as we know, and we've talked about ad nauseum, this will be our last weekend conference series against them as they head over to the Pac-12 conference.
Which, by the way, Jerry,
year.
I wanted to mention there was something that Jay said last night about, and somebody told me this about. Bab talked about the no one in the conference really interested in scheduling Texas State outside of the season. Like none of the baseball teams want to have any type of relationship with Texas State. So I just thought that's interesting. This may be the last time for a really long time that we play the Bobcats.
I mean, there's a lot of other teams to choose from, apparently, in Texas. I mean, you saw what Tarleton State did the other day in Austin. So, I mean, maybe we can schedule them instead. You know, I guess they're more worthy. But anyway, about Texas State, right now, Texas State sits at 12-8 on the year, 0-3 in conference play. They're currently on a 5-game losing streak. They started the season 12-3, and then they lost to a midweek game to Texas, I believe, last week before going to Monroe and getting pretty much trounced. That was a very surprising conference opening series in Monroe. I mean, ULM took care of business, and actually ULM's on a 5-game win streak right now. They're hitting the baseball very well. And then this past Tuesday night, rounding off that losing streak was against Texas A&M, where the Bobcats lost by the score of 9-6. So they're coming in with their backs against the wall against ranked Louisiana. All right, so right now Bobcats sit at 105 in RPI ranking according to WarrenNolan.com. Their head coach is Steven Trout in his 7th season, and while Coach Trout has been with the Bobcats, he's had one regional appearance in 2022 when they went to take on Stanford. Series wins this year so far, Niagara, Gonzaga, and they took 3 out of 4 against Washington State. And a key series loss again last weekend to ULM via sweep. A little bit about the Bobcat offense. Right now, their batting average is 282 compared to Louisiana's 257. The Bobcats have 22 home runs on the year, 38 doubles, 7 triples, a 461 slugging percentage. They've walked 105 times. They've struck out 191 times. And there's 2 guys in the lineup hitting over 300. Right now, the Bobcats average 6.85 runs per game. That is in comparison to UL's 5.9 runs per game. Leading off their lineup, just some key players. Right fielder, number 7, Rashawn Galloway. He's a senior, batting .373. He's got 10 doubles, 1 triple, 1 home run with 17 RBIs and he's walked 7 times. He's struck out 8 times out of 83 at-bats, so he definitely makes contact every time he goes up to the plate. Also, designated hitter number 33, Manny Salas Jr., batting .343 with 5 doubles, 1 triple, 4 home runs, 13 RBIs, 11 walks, and a .614 slugging percentage. And I added one more guy who has a pretty significant stat line with 4 home runs. Shortstop number 3, Dawson Park, who is a sophomore, batting .288, 5 doubles, 1 triple, 4 home runs, 27 RBIs. So I'm sorry, he leads in RBIs, and he's walked 7 times. So they really don't have, it's kind of a top-heavy lineup, but everybody in the lineup can hit the baseball. Even though there's only 2 players with batting .300 or above, don't overlook the rest of that lineup because they have some decent stats. These are the top 3 that really stood out to me. Defensively for the Bobcats, they have a .980 fielding percentage compared to UL's .982, so they're pretty similar. They have 15 errors on the year, and they have turned 22 double plays. Their catcher, Clayton Namkin, out of 15 stolen bases, he's had, I believe he's had 15 players steal bases on him to second, and he's only caught 2 of them stealing. So just like South Alabama, I'm not going to be surprised if Coach Degg sends guys to second base. He's going to try to be aggressive on the base paths against this guy. Their second baseman, shortstop, and third baseman, they combine for a .963 fielding percentage, which is basically the infield, with 19 errors. And in comparison, UL, their infield is at .962 with 8 errors. So the reason why the errors are so much higher is because they have had more opportunities. There's been a lot more contact with contact defensively, having a lot more ground balls fielded to them, whereas UL, our pitching kind of speaks for itself, really hadn't had that many opportunities. But that 19 errors kind of sticks out a little bit, fellas. Maybe we could make them panic a little bit if our bats get going. And rounding off the Bobcats, let's talk about pitching. Right now, the Bobcats have a 5.994 ERA. That's in comparisons to Louisiana's 4.16 ERA, so the Bobcats are much higher. They have a 270 batting average that they've given up. They've given up 43 doubles, 3 triples, and 25 home runs. Talking a little bit about the weekend rotation, on Friday we will see number 43, Kyle Froelich. He's had 5 starts in his 5 appearances. He's 2-1 overall, a 4.98 ERA with a 1.2 WHIP. He's pitched 21 and 2/3 innings. He's given up a batting average of .278. He's struck out 24 batters. He's walked 1 batter out of 90 at-bats. He's given up 8 doubles, 1 triple, and 4 home runs. And on Saturday, we're going to see a new guy. His name is number 36, Sam Hall. It's his first Saturday start since his first Saturday start was against ULM. What happened was the original Saturday starter, Nolan Moore, injured himself a few weeks ago, and he's out for the season with an injury. And in the 4 starts, Nolan Moore pitched 17 innings and had a 0.53 ERA. So that's a huge loss in the weekend rotation for the Bobcats. But about Sam Hall, 4 starts, 4 appearances. He has a 1-0 record as a starter, 6.75 ERA, 2.13 WHIP. I smell blood when I see that. Anyway, 8 innings pitched. He's given up an average of a 382 batting average. He struck out 11 batters, given up 6 doubles, 1 home run out of the 34 at-bats. And out of the 34 batters he's faced, he's given up 13 hits. Last week, he pitched 3 innings against ULM and gave up 3 earned runs before being pulled. And rounding off the weekend rotation, and probably the best pitcher on the team right now, stat-wise, is number 13, Jesus Tovar. He's got 5 starts and 5 appearances, a 4-1 overall record, 2.49 ERA, 0.95 WHIP. He's pitched 25 1/3 innings. He's given up a batting average of 169. He struck out of 83 batters he's faced. He struck out 26 of them. He's walked 10 of them, and he's only given up 14 hits. And 1 being a double. He's given up no home runs and no triples, but he has hit 8 guys. So this is good. He's going to be the anchor of this weekend. I think it's very important to take, if we want to win the series, winning Friday and Saturday is going to be crucial before we face a guy like Jesus Tovar, considering our struggles at the plate right now. But overall, guys, I look at this team, and just like Houston, y'all, I feel like they're vulnerable. That's the best way to describe them. You just don't know what you're going to get with them. Going into last weekend, none of us thought that they would have gotten not only swept but trounced by ULM in all 3 games. So, and I'll ask you guys this later on, Nick, once you we talk about it. But I'm kind of curious to see their approach going into this weekend. The circumstances, we're kind of riding high right now. We're on a 3-game win streak. And I know you talked about Houston, but say what you want about Houston. It's still a Big 12 team, and you beat them on the road. That's a big win, So we're going in with momentum. We're going in with energy. And they're coming back with a 5-game losing streak, and they're a nationally ranked team on their schedule with this losing streak. Kind of makes me wonder if they're going to play with their backs against the wall, or is it something that can turn into a snowball effect? I'm very curious. It's a very unique storyline, a very unique circumstance going into this weekend, guys.
What I'm starting to come to terms with and understand a little bit more when you look at our team as a whole, and I know you said offensive issues, we're not putting up huge numbers. I think last night was a perfect encapsulation of the season where we looked bad at some at bats. We put the ball in play, which is good. And which, if you do that against Texas State this weekend, you put the ball in play, you'll see what happens. I think when you look at the fact that we have played one of the toughest schedules in the entirety of college baseball, we face some really good arms and some really good pitchers. And there's not one team outside of maybe Rio Grande that's bad this season. UCSD, questionable. The jury's still out on them. Our Rio Grande Valley, they may be a decent team, but they're not the caliber of every other team that we played during the weekend.
But they're not bad either.
Yeah, but they're not bad. But that's what I'm saying. Like when I'm having to think about, okay, Rio Grande Valley, are they good or are they not good? If they're the worst team that we've played this season, that's a pretty damn good team. That's a worse team. So I'm not pushing the panic button on the offense. Do I think that we could have a better approach in some situations? Yes. But Josh is going to disagree with me. I like the decision-making by Deggs. Not all the time. Last night, I thought there were a couple of situations where we should have bunted the damn ball, and instead we're swinging away and it bit us. Or when he sent the guy around third and got caught 20 feet before getting even close to home plate. He does make some of those decisions still. That's what you get with Deggs. But in the end, it's another win against the top 60 RPI. And when I show you what our RPI looks like now, you realize, maybe we're not hitting the ball with power right now, and we're not going back to back to back. But Mike, we played some really tough opponents, and that won't stop for quite a while. I think when you look at the fact that we're going to play Southern Miss for a 3-game series that could be top 25 RPI, I think they're like number 1 still. If that keeps up and we keep up, and then Coastal, kind of gets back on track when their 2 pitchers come back, the RPI game is in our favor the rest of the season. So I'm not criticizing our offense right now. I think we're doing what we can against really good arms. And when we face guys who aren't really good arms, look what happened last night.
Absolutely. I mean, since we don't have the long ball, we really have to manufacture runs, which we have to be more aggressive, which is why Deggs is making these decisions. We don't have the long ball. We don't have the slugging. We're doing all this without the long ball, and that's the crazy part. If we had the slug and the home runs, we are a top 10 national team, and it wouldn't even be close. We're sitting at the RPI. Like that was my thing. Win as every midweek game as possible. Come out the jump and win every game early in the season, because you never know what's going to happen in the back end. You don't want to get that committee time to think. And we're sitting at such a high RPI. It's at 11 right now. Non-conference is at 8. Strength of schedule is 8. We have quad 1 wins. We have a bunch of quad 2 wins. We have quad 4 wins. We're 4-1 on the road, 12-4 at home, 2-1 in conference. We've only faced 2 losing teams, which is UTRGV and UCSG. And those programs are close to a 500 program. So it's not like we're not losing against those 2 losing teams. Weren't bad teams. Those are good teams. So what we're doing right now is pretty great for not having such long ball and slugging percentage. It just shows what this team is scrappy. We have really good pitching. We have really good defense. It's carrying us right now. once that offense starts striking, hopefully in the back half of the season, man, if everything comes together, we will be deadly.
Art, I'm not sure if you were the Opelousas So-Stan guy last night. I think it was Owen. Who's from Opelousas? Is it Galt? Whichever player's from Opelousas, he started singing
Mark Collins.
Mark Collins. He said something about Opelousas So-Stan, and I'm like, don't make me start singing it because I was ready to go. We were talking about the A side and the B side of the album because I still have it at my house. But Art, appreciate you chiming in. Glad you're in San Marcos, and he's right. This team we're never out of it attitude, and I've kind of taken that approach as well. But like you were talking about, as far as RPI, we're number 11. And when you look at some of these, I mean, look at the fact that Missouri State is 13 RPI. Rice, 71. That's still a top 100 win. Maryland, RPI 43. Kansas State, 27. UC San Diego, you remember I was like, I'm not too sure about them. Their RPI is 18, dog. 18 RPI. You want to talk about a difficult schedule? LSU's they're the RPI killer, bro. They are the worst RPI team that we've played this season at 113.
Which is crazy.
No, we didn't play McNeese, thank goodness, because that would have hurt us. But Dallas Baptist at 94, Rio Grande at 102, South Alabama 39, Houston 79. So yeah, we're hitting under 300 as a team, but look at who we've been playing. And they continue to win. And you look at the quadrants, which this is what, when the committee is sitting down and trying to make decisions at the end of the season, and let's say the Cajuns go on a cold streak. Hope that doesn't happen. But let's say we drop some games later in the season. When they come back and see the quadrant 1 wins, right now we're 3-3, but quadrant 2, Q2 is 11-2. We haven't played anybody in Q3. We've only played 2 teams under quad 2, and we're 2-0 against them. That is impressive for the Cajuns, Jerry. That's why I'm not freaking out about the offense right now.
Well, and you know what? It's because let's be honest, it's not sexy, right? Like when we think of Dag's ball, we're thinking of line drives, we're thinking of dingers, we're thinking of just putting the ball in play everywhere you go. And then you add in the crazy base running decisions, and you add in the bunts, and you add in it's none of that's happening, right? Like last night we needed a little help from, ironically, their weekend starter to come in and totally collapse. And then a
former Friday night guy from last season came in.
And so, we're finding, and Dags always talks about, he used to say last year, man, we're giving up too many freebies. Well, it's nice to see that we're getting the freebies.
That actually sounded more like our former softball coach.
Oh, well, anyway. But like, that's what he used to say, right? Like, we can't keep giving away freebies. And I feel like we're the benefactor of the freebies this year against a lot of teams. Maryland, Houston last night. I'm trying to think. There was one other game we played. Oh, Dallas Baptist on that Saturday. And it's nice. I think maybe the baseball gods are rewarding us for the torture that we went through last year because we were giving everything away to other teams. But to Mike's point, I mean, Mike, you're absolutely right. We're finding ways to manufacture runs, and we're doing it in a very kind of old school way. And I'm okay with that because, like last night, we got 3 runs off of it and won the game. I'll take walks and stolen bases over hits any day if it helps us win games. I mean, you're doing it against good competition. So. Yeah, I mean, the bats, I think there's a lot of optimism that the bats are eventually going to pick up. Now, I will say, though, usually around game 28, that's the halfway mark. I get a little concerned if things don't improve. I will say that this weekend in that Cracker Jack ballpark in San Marcos, and with looking at their pitching stats, because I can tell y'all right now, I think their pitching is probably worse than what Dallas Baptist was. I think this is an opportunity for some guys to hit some dingers this weekend and get some hard line drive base hits. I mean, what do you guys think? Y'all think that we have an opportunity to do that this weekend?
We definitely have the upper hand on the mound. We lead almost every stat from a pitching standpoint. Offensively, they're better almost every stat, but the quality opponent is not even close to what we've been facing. So, like you said earlier, this Texas State can either go either way. It could be really bad for them this weekend, or they might be scrappy because offensively, the stats are not bad. They're batting 282 as a team. They've got more home runs than us, or probably double home runs than we do. They're slugging more than us. we have a huge upper hand on the mound, which I think that's been our advantage all year long. So I think we might soften their bats this weekend. If we do, man, Lane did say we should be sweeping. At most 2 wins has to be, and I think we really, really have to win on Friday night.
If you're a top 25 team, you got to win 2 games this weekend. I mean, that's my opinion. That is a minimum. But it's baseball. Things happen, you know. And I'm not going to push the panic button if we do drop the series, but I don't expect us to, because we should not lose this kind of series. I will say, you know, one of the things that you said, Jerry, was about last season was, I guess we're getting paid back a little bit for how bad last season was. The biggest difference to me is not necessarily the offense, because the offense was not great last year either. Obviously, they struggled a lot more than we are this year, and we didn't get the timely hitting that we're getting this year, even though our team batting average is a little bit down. We're getting the timely hits, and we're getting them when it matters. The pitching is what is carrying this team, and I would be concerned if I'm 2 weeks into the season and tape hasn't gotten out on guys, but at this point of the season, everybody knows what's coming at you. They knew what Cody Brash was bringing last night, and he just stuffed it up their ass. They could not touch him. So I think that's the biggest difference from last season to this season was, yeah, we struggled a little bit more offensively, but if we would have had the pitching staff being coached up like they are now, and some of the talent like a Sawyer Pruitt on this team, and the development that you're seeing with Coach Sandy, we could have been in a pretty good situation. I'm not saying we would have picked up, 20 more wins, but we could have had 10 more wins somewhere in there. I don't know, Mike. I think that's the biggest difference between last season and this season.
Yeah, and also I want to touch on for this weekend, whenever I was looking at Texas State's stats and rosters and all that, like Jerry said earlier, the first thing that came to my mind was inconsistency with this. They have 20 pitchers on their roster compared to our 14. There's probably a handful of guys that have less than 5 innings pitched. The rest have almost double-digit innings. So they're throwing a lot of guys. So whenever they had a 4-game series, and then they had a day break and played Texas Longhorns. At the Texas Longhorns game, they pitched 10 pitchers against Texas. We might see a lot of arms this weekend if it goes south. Also, defensively, they've played 3 different catchers. They've had 5 different first basemen. They've had 2 different second basemen, 1 shortstop. That's probably their dude. That
sounds like us from last season, bro.
Exactly. They've had 2 third basemen, 6 different left fielders, 2 different center fielders, and 4 different right fielders. So it is almost like a mirror of 2025. So if we can take advantage of the inconsistency, handle their Friday night guy, let them cause chaos. But looking at their roster and their pitching depth, they play a lot of different guys offensively and defensively. So if we can just take advantage of that, man, it's all in our favor.
I think it's interesting that we look at their stats as far as fielding percentage. They commit a lot of errors. And then against Houston, you saw a little bit of the chaos, creating a little bit of hesitation and a couple of chances that they had to make some plays they didn't last night. I think they're coached to know that we're going to do these things. And what you have to do, you have to coach your team. Hey, Louisiana's going to come in. They're going to try to steal on us. They're going to try to do this. They might steal home. You never know if they're going to lay down a butt with 2 outs, nobody on, with 2 out, 2 strikes. You never know what they're going to do. And I think that kind of gets into the head of certain players and teams, because now they're anticipating, all right, we've been coached. There's going to be chaos here. What do I do to stop the chaos? And in doing that, you're opening up your mind to think something's coming when it's not. And that's where errors start to happen. So I think it's a long game that Deggs has played, Jerry. And we'll see if that translates this weekend with the poor fielding percentage that we've seen at Texas State. They could come out and have no errors over the weekend, but I think if we get a couple guys on and start moving around, that might open up opportunities for us.
And I think that's why it was so important to win last night. I said, and I told you guys before the week started, I'm like, look, I want to, at a minimum, I want to go 3-1 this week, especially if we want to, and I don't know if we've discussed it being in the top 25, first time we've made the top 25 since 24, which is awesome, right? It's always good to get that type of recognition, but having that ranking comes with a label. Having that ranking comes with perception. Having that ranking puts pressure on our team, right? And they played last night like it didn't even faze them. Played last night like it was what ranking are you talking about? But selfishly as a fan, I want to be in the top 25. I want to move up in the polls. And in order to do that, I thought going into this week we had to go 3-1. And in order to go 3-1, you had to win the game last night. And they won the game last night, even when Houston almost could have had a go ahead and run. We played chill, we played finesse and relaxed. And I think that's the difference to your point about the chaos is that Texas State, and that's why I asked the question earlier, Texas State's coming in on a 5-game losing streak, and now they're getting in the conference. There's a lot of pressure there. There's a lot of pressure there, and it makes me wonder how they approach that. How, Mike, you talking about the different, playing 3 different catchers. We're not even halfway through the season yet, right? Playing 20 pitchers. That's instead, you can't create stability with that.
But that was us last season. That's why
and you
we
saw
were
what
not
happened
great last season.
Yeah, and you saw what happened. It's interesting, and I think that's why I'm curious about winning last night. We're going in confident, and it makes me wonder. I'm not worried about us. I'm really not. I think we're going to go in and play fine. From a perception dynamic, I'm kind of wondering how Texas State's feeling about this. It's good. I'm interested to see how they react to it. Because I'm going to tell y'all, and Kobe made a point earlier about how he said, I expect no less than 2 wins. Neither do I. I expect to win the series, but as long as we stay finesse and have a very focused approach like we did against Houston, and sometimes take what's given to us, I think we should be fine. I think we should come out with a series win in San Marcos come Sunday.
And I want to see our offense carry us this weekend. We know we have good pitching. We know we have good defense.
This is the weekend to do in that stadium.
Absolutely. I would really like to see the offense really carry from Friday to Sunday. That way we don't even think about our pitching and defense whenever we do a recap. I just really want our offense to do a huge step up this weekend.
Yeah, we said that at DBU, and we saw glimpses of it, right? But we didn't hit with power. Certainly Sunday was a different story. But do you see that? You can look around college baseball this season and see a lot of teams that are 0-2 on the weekend come out and blow out the other team on Sunday. You're seeing a lot of that. So that's not just us. That's happening across the board. But I'm with you. I want to see us come out with a strong Friday, a strong Saturday. And then Sunday, let's see what happens. Let's come out loose. If we win, great. If not, no big deal. But I think it's important that we get off to a really good start this weekend against them in their home stadium. And it could go one of 2 ways. It can go the way of Dallas Baptist, how they responded on Sunday and came back and run ruled us, or it can go another way where they press so hard that they make mental errors and are not disciplined at the plate, Jerry. That's to be seen, but we'll see what happens.
Another thing I'm curious about, and we talked a little bit about it last night, and I know fans are concerned about it, and they probably haven't broken any news, but I know Blaze Rodriguez hurt his hand. And so,
yeah, somebody mentioned that here as well. They were asking about his status.
Yeah, I'm wondering. The only concern I have is if he's out tomorrow night, does that I'm sure Rigo's probably going to play shortstop like it did the other night. I'm sure OG is going to be second base. But does that kind of mess up the chemistry a little bit, right? That's the only concern that I have. Not in a way that's catastrophic or anything, but kind of wondering, does that kind of throw a wrench in our momentum and throw a wrench in what we're trying to achieve here? What do you guys think? I'm just kind of wondering that dynamic if that's the case, if Blaze doesn't play.
So, in my opinion, if Blaze doesn't play and gets the reps, he went 0-2 last night, and he's currently batting 100. He's 1 for 10. So, offensively, if we do get him, this would be a really good opportunity for him to really string some hits together all this weekend. He's pretty good defensively. What they do with the defense would be interesting because we know Rigo could play short. We know Drew Marco could play short. So do they slide Gold to second, to short, to third? They're going to absolutely have to protect the left side. So
Yeah, I don't think you mess with Markle, man. He's so good at the corner.
And he was really good last night. He had some really good defensive plays.
His throws, man.
It's
that guy's got a
sick.
rocket arm.
So that's what I'm curious about. Do you keep Markle at third because he's so good defensively right now, and then do you flirt with Rigo and Gold at short and second? I don't know the status on Blaze, so I don't know if he's day to day or if he's good. I don't even know what happened. I didn't even know he was hurt. So Gold. I will say this: Gold's a really good guy to have as a backup because he's been there, done it. He's been with us. He played last year. He had a lot of reps last year. He ended the season last year batting .277. So we know he has the stick. He just hadn't had a lot of good reps this year. But curious to see what they do on that, especially that left side. We really have to protect the left side of the field.
Yeah,
Renee,
I'm
Renee.
with Renee. Yeah,
Renee
Rigo to
said,
short
yeah.
and OG to second. Yes, and then Mark Collins. Not sure what his status is because he was a little limber on that leg, especially after he stole second. You could tell he was kind of, he was a little bit banged up. Then obviously out a dead duck at home. But man, that catch last night that he made to rob Houston of that home run.
That was huge.
That was huge.
That makes a big difference. I mean, and how about Drew with the wheels getting home and putting that hand in before?
Oh yeah. Oh, I knew it as soon as it happened. I mean, Renee was right down next to me, and so was Boudreaux, and I was looking at the group chat, and you were like safe, and I'm like, we're safe, and that's when the old man got mad at me and said, well, if you say safe one more time, maybe it'll happen. And I was like, oh, it already happened. We could see it.
I mean, Mike, we saw it in real time on TV, and I thought he was safe. When the umpire threw the outside, I'm like, what do you, you're right there. How do you miss something that close? Like,
right.
We saw it from the TV like it was obvious, and I'm glad. Thank goodness for reviews. Oh my God, for instant replay. Could you imagine how many replays have gone in our favor that have been called against us this year? Could you imagine if we didn't have this in replay, how that would have cost us numerous times because of just the misses?
I could tell from Marco's body language. As soon as he slid, he shook his head.
Oh, it wasn't even close. I mean, from my angle, and I had the same angle as the umpire. I mean, it wasn't even close. You saw him get the hand before the tag was any. Did he even tag him? I mean, he might have tagged him, but I can tell you.
Way after.
Yeah,
way after.
That
his
hand
hand had already slid across the
and
plate
we didn't
him.
even hesitate. Yeah. We're like, yeah, he's absolutely safe. So, no, I think our team has done a really good job this season. Last year, not so much, where things would happen and guys would, you'd see guys that would ask for the headphones, and there was no way they should have been doing that. I think we're doing a much better job of that this season. Shout out to my boy Elliot with his little donation tonight, our beer donation from Elliot, saying he'd be happy 2 out of 3, but I feel like we should get a sweep. I agree. And also my boy James, who texted me on the way home last night, saying this exact same thing. We got a squad, bro. We do have a squad.
James back on the poo's back on the bandwagon,
that's
baby.
Right.
I love it. I love it. When James is back on, we know we're rolling.
Yeah, and but I just appreciate the moment, boys, because it's not often we have a year like we did last year, and we all started panicking a little bit, especially just with the overall, just the culture and how the locker room was, and we could see it on the field, and there were a lot of me guys and not we guys. It's a 180-degree change this year because it's the complete opposite. The guys are playing for each other. They're playing with each other. They've got each other's back. They have a little bit of a swagger. They're starting to chirp a little bit. Not what we saw last year. Love seeing it this year. Appreciate the moment because this could be a very special season for the Cajuns. I'm not saying that we're going to go and win the College World Series this year, but the way the schedule is setting up and the way that we're playing ball right now, Mike, if we continue on this path that we're on and continue playing how we're playing, it could be very, very good for us when it comes to Election Sunday.
We're doing all the right things at the right time on the first half of the season. It's exactly what you want, to where if you drop some games on the back end, it's fine. Whether instead of dropping a bunch of games in the first half and now you're pressuring in the second half to really, really win a lot of games, when on the back end of the conference you have Coastal, you have Southern Miss, you got Troy, that's always tough. Texas State's always tough. So we're sitting in a really, really good position with a huge high RPI. we're doing the right things at the right time, and without the long ball. I just can't stress that enough. We're doing that without the long ball.
And also, I mean, as far as RPI goes, the rest of the conference needs to continue doing what they're doing. I think we avoid Georgia Southern this year, don't we? I don't think we. Yeah. Thank God, because they're in the shitter right now. They're not doing very well at all. But I'm gonna agree with Bryce here. You can never count a sweep on the road. You can never count on a sweep. It is really, really hard in college baseball to sweep a team. I don't care. 2014 was a complete. That's
anomaly.
Different. We're not going to talk about that. This in this day and age, it's sweeping a team really, really difficult. So I never count on that. I always want to win the series. Anything else is extra, Jerry.
I mean, in 2016, right? That was the last time we hosted a regional. We lost a few weekend series at home to some bad teams. I mean, it happens, and the difference was we just kept accumulating wins to where, to Mike's point, losing some of those games didn't matter as much because of the fact that we won so much. One thing I want to make comment on, and this is something that I really have been appreciative of this particular roster up until this point, is that before the season started, Nick, I alluded to the fact that with NIL and the portal, a lot of teams, everything's transactional. I'm going to go get the best player from this school from this SEC school, or I'm going to go get this player from that Big 12 school, or I'm going to go get that ACC player at Miami who rode the bench, and I'm going to go get him because it's all about a name, and they came from these big schools, and I'm going to pay him, and he's going to be great for me, when in reality, the chemistry doesn't usually blend when you do stuff like that all the time. And I look at this team, and you look at Rigo Hernandez, a fifth-year senior from William Carey College in Southern Miss's backyard, a D2 or D3 school. You've got Pappenbrock from an NAIA school in Indiana, a place I've never even heard of before. You got Ty Roman from San Jacinto Junior College. Didn't go to any big school or anything like that. You've got Blaze Rodriguez, who's a true freshman. Colt Brown is a true freshman. I mean, you've got all these guys on this team that I'm not going to call them outcasts because they're not, but they were guys that I felt were kind of overlooked by other schools that have come in, and I feel like they have something to prove. Like when Rigo Hernandez goes out there, I feel like he feels like he's got something to prove to people. Like, okay, y'all overlooked me for 4 years in William Carey. I'm going to show you. And then he goes and gets a go-ahead home run against Dallas Baptist, right? I feel like this team, Deggs kind of went into the old school approach, where junior college players, NAIA players that fit the culture that he's looking to build, that's the formula he took. Instead of going after just, well, I'm going to go get the portal kids and pay all this money to go get portal kids. We got $100,000 budget, guys. That's all we got for NIL. Like, it's not much. And we're a top 25 team. So I got to give kudos to, I give kudos to Coach Deggs. I give kudos to Coach Deggs and the coaching staff. And look, let's not forget, you got, what's his name? Coach Rick Cricklesman, the coach from Lake Charles. You've got Coach Sandy that's come in and implemented his own pitching system that has worked. So this team has pretty much been built off of a lot of old school mentality and old school drive. And I love that. I love that about this team.
I love Cole talking about my boy Sawyer's going to shove tomorrow.
Another true freshman. Another true freshman.
Shove day for, what do we call him? What's his? I almost said Beans. I can't remember now. Well, shove day for Sawyer. I agree. It'll be a good day. And look, let's go around. I mean, I'm not going to say around the horn, but let's get everybody that has poo-pooed on the recruiting in the offseason. A lot of people down there like, who is this guy? Oh, we're signing a bunch of D2 guys. Oh, great. Oh, now we got this guy that's coming, and he's from a JUCO. And now I told you boys, I said, before you start being crazy, let these guys prove themselves. And they have. It's Bug. Yeah, Bug Shove Day. I don't know how you guys find all this stuff out. It's crazy. I'm gonna have to ask his dad, Jeff. I'm like, did y'all tell somebody? Like, how y'all posting pictures of him when he was a kid hunting with a bunch of ducks? Like, what is going on?
His brother posted it.
Oh, was it? Oh, he was in the chat the other night. That's awesome.
Kept calling him Bug, and then everybody just took off on Twitter.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But look, I'm with Cole. I temper expectations. I'm going with it. I'm just enjoying every single win. This is a fun season. If they keep doing it, could be a really special season for the Cajuns. But I couldn't be more pleased with where we are at this point of the season. let's do a quick chat about softball just to let you guys know where they are so far this season. Not a great start to the conference season, as last weekend they got off to a 1-2 start as they were beat in that series at Southern Miss. They lost the first game 6-1. They run-ruled Southern Miss 9-1 on Saturday, and then got run-ruled 9-1 by Southern Miss on Sunday. Obviously, the ladies need to do better there, and Coach Alley said the same in her presser this week. Coming up, they're going to be playing Texas State as well at home. So the Kitties will be both in San Marcos and in Lafayette. First pitch set for 6 p.m. on Friday. Leading hitters for Louisiana, Mia Lascano, batting .418 on the season. They've got four other players that are batting over 300, and the team is batting .314 as a club. Pitching wise, Bethany Noble is 6-3 with a 2.02 ERA. As a club, we have a 3.67 ERA, and Louisiana is now, I believe, 17-12. It's not, I believe. They confirmed that for me just now. 17-12 on the season. RPI wise, even though they've got some losses on their schedule, which they played a really tough schedule, they are 61 in the RPI. So they really need to start turning it around. That begins this weekend against Texas State, who's a really good softball club. So I want to see a little bit of what they can do against Texas State. Jerry, any thoughts on how the softball season's going so far?
It's tough, man, because I expected them to go take care of business at Southern Miss, and it was just a bad weekend for them. The Saturday game was nice, but the first game, I mean, Southern Miss jumped off to a big lead, and they dominated them, and that was hard to watch. Look, I have faith in this team. They've showed us that they can compete with the best of them, but now is a time where they have to step it up. And this weekend, a really tough Texas State comes to town. They're really good. They've won this. They've been kind of I hate to say it, but they've kind of taken over the conference a little bit more than we have in the last couple of years. So time to earn what's ours. This weekend we're at home, right in front of our fans. So yeah, a big series win would be crucial. And look, I would think, Nick, that the conference schedule should be easing up a little bit compared to the first month. So 17-12 doesn't sound great, but I do think this is an opportunity starting this weekend, especially with RPI, to go take care of business against the Bobcats.
I completely agree. Taking a look around the conference in baseball, as far as standings go, Coastal Carolina, ULM, James Madison, and Marshall in a four-way tie for first. They were all 3-0 on the season. ULM on a 5-game win streak, followed by JMU on a 4-game win streak. Then following them is Louisiana, Arkansas State, and Troy, all at 2-1. Southern Miss, South Alabama, Old Dominion all follow us with a 1-2 conference record. And then the bottom of the barrel, Texas State, App State, Georgia State, and Georgia Southern all 0-3 so far in conference play. However, I want to point out that there are only 2 teams in the entire Sun Belt Conference with a sub 500 record, that being Troy at 9-11 and Georgia Southern at 5-15. They're just not. Rodney Hennon's a good baseball coach. Not sure what's going on this week or this season with the Georgia Southern Eagles. Not their standard. Hopefully they can kind of pull it out a little bit in the second half of the season, but not looking good for the Eagles. So good luck to them and best of luck. Glad we're not playing them because they'd be an RPI killer, as like Troy might be too. Hopefully we can pull that series out as well, but I'm not going to prognosticate what we'll do later in the season. As far as football season, that is getting started in the spring workouts and spring game coming up in a few weeks. And as we get things started there, we had a press conference earlier today from Coach Dez. I don't have the highlights available. I know my buddy Will at I keep wanting to say Fox 15, News 15 is going to hook us up later in the week. So we may play that on our Sunday wrap-up show. But there was a presser today, and there were some injuries that were mentioned for several players in the football side, which is really sad. that we're already talking about injuries with football, and we're only in March. But Cooper Fordham, Lester Jones, who's a linebacker, offensive lineman, Jamarian Gooch, Xavier Brown on the O-line as well, all out for the spring. George Jackson, who's also an offensive lineman, is limited, but he'll be back after spring break. And Notori Brown, outside linebacker, is also limited. So we talked about the strength and conditioning part of football season, and it seems like it's kind of just continuing in the off season as well. So we need those guys to get healthy, obviously, before next year. As far as quarterback controversy, there is none at this point. Winfield, according to, and this is being reported by Jamarcus Fitzpatrick at KATC, Desormeaux says Lunch will not be live when the team scrimmages during spring ball. Coleman Carter, Daniel Beal, and Sam Altman are all competing from the backup job. I like Sam Altman. I mean, I like Daniel Beal too. I'm just not convinced after the sample that I've seen that is he ready yet? I don't know. We're going to find out in the spring. This is his opportunity to show us whether or not he's ready to be QB2. But I do really like what I've seen and heard out of Sam Altman as well. Don't know a whole lot about Coleman Carter. Jerry, are you familiar with him? That's the first I've seen his name, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, he was a freshman last year. Probably.
Was he?
Yeah, he was. I don't know if he was. I remember I covered them for the preseason last year. I believe he's either from Mississippi or somewhere out of state, and he was kind of a dual threat quarterback. That's really all I knew. I didn't really know much about him. I think the main names, like you said, Daniel Beal, with his experience, and Sam Altman being the local guy from STM. So, I mean, look, let's be honest. I mean, I want to knock on wood when I say this, but we haven't had a starting quarterback play the whole season since Levi Lewis in 21. So that backup quarterback position is very, very important. A lot more important than people think, just because of our track record in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried at the QB spot. I think we're in good shape there. I think
Lunch's going to be fine, but he needs to stay healthy.
He does, and what we need to have a capable. I mean, when you have a guy who's a dual threat, and folks are chiming in, and then Carter is a dual threat. When you have a dual threat QB, you need to have a viable number two that can come in at any point during a game and continue what he started. We need to see that this season.
Can we just bring all of our offense? Does anybody know any local 3 tours around town? We can just bring them to one, because it feels like it's been 3 months, and somehow I think Kevin made a comment about the injuries lingering from last year at O-line. Have they not fully healed since December?
I guess.
I mean,
not.
you just named 2 or 3
guys
starters
who were injured last year, right?
And they're starters. Like, we're not losing 3rd or 4th stringers. These guys are starters. Like, Gooch started, I think, a game or 2. Who was the other one you mentioned?
Fordham,
a starter.
Yeah, Cooper Fordham's a starter. Yeah,
Jackson, a starter. Like, correct. I mean, like, can we? Oh, do we have? We need like a witch doctor or something to come in, because this is getting crazy even in the spring.
I remember Altman putting on a show last year, and I heard that he put on a show last year in the spring game. So, what we won't have to worry about is a Walker Lunch debate, because he's back at Ole Miss. So that, I think that was a failed experiment for whatever reason. That was glad he was able to come home. I do wish he would have stayed, if I'm being honest with you. I think he could have been good from a locker room standpoint and a branding standpoint, and just having a local kid in that room. But you know what? Play on and play up, and we'll see what we got in the quarterback room this season. Let's talk about a little bit of drama. And I don't know if Dave's going to be able to make it tonight, but I do want to talk about what's going on with Louisiana Tech and Conference USA. And it's not just as simple as, well, Louisiana Tech, they decided they notified the league early, so they owe them this number. It's not just as simple as that. You saw this happen with when ODU and Southern Miss and Marshall left. There was the lawsuit and all this stuff from Conference USA, and they ended up coming anyway. But this is a situation where Louisiana Tech said, okay, we'll pay you this amount. And then the league said no. And then they said, okay, we'll pay you this amount, which was significantly more. And they said no again. And then they came back and said, we want all your revenue from 2025 to 2026, and then like 2024 to 2025. So they wanted 2 full seasons of revenue, which obviously not going to happen from a Louisiana Tech standpoint. Louisiana Tech came going back and kept giving them more options on what they could do, and the league just did not answer them. And then finally, at the very last minute, they filed a lawsuit against Louisiana Tech. And now the latest development in that saga is they want to switch the case to a federal case, which would delay it even more, and also move the jurisdiction from North Louisiana to Dallas, which is where Conference USA is located, which could push this even further. And you got to understand, we're trying to get this done by July 1st. And it was, I mean, this is just not a good situation. And obviously with the pettiness of like, we're going to release the schedule at 8:30 on a Thursday night during our conference basketball championship game and not really telling anybody until 15 minutes before that they're doing it, ahead of the Sun Belt releasing their schedule the very next day. I don't like Louisiana Tech, but I feel like there is so much that they're doing to not only damage Louisiana Tech, but also the Sun Belt brand. I think this is a direct hit at all of us as Sun Belt members. They're trying to make us look a little bit silly in all of this. And they want the Sun Belt to say, oh, you know what? Maybe you just keep Louisiana Tech. We're fine. I want to see leadership from Keith Gill get ahead of this and be public. Yeah, good luck with that. The dude's never going to be public with anything unless he's the chairman for the NCAA selection show. Then you hear him on TV. But otherwise, we don't hear anything from Keith Gill. I just think this is a bad look for Conference USA. I think the pettiness level has reached epic proportions. And I'm not a Louisiana Tech fan, but I want them in this conference next season because I don't want to have our teams try to figure out how they're going to schedule for 2026. In my opinion, this is all bullshit, and it's bad leadership from the top of the house, which nobody likes Judy. And speaking of the man, he's getting himself ready for this conversation right now. I think, and he's gonna shed a little more light onto this in a second. So I'm going to make sure he's ready in the background. Give me a thumbs up, Dave, if you're ready to go. He's ready to go. Let's bring him on. Dave Schultz from Locked on Sub-O. What's up, baby?
Did I miss it, guys? Hey, I saw that guy was on a baseball game broadcast. Safe.
Yeah, that's right. And we were safe. And I appreciate the shout out and the love, man.
Stealing home with 2 outs with your best hitter at the plate.
Hey,
it was a desperate night.
Now, right?
We made up for the next 2 days. So it's water under the bridge now.
Okay. All right.
Dave fan club in the house tonight. everybody's loving up on Dave. You don't get this often, Dave. It's, if anything, it's quite the opposite.
I just did a live, because I was at work at the time. I did a live recap of the Troy loss to Nebraska. It was all Nebraska fans, of course, because they won.
Shut up, Dave. Somebody had to say it. But let's talk about, I was literally
by the way, Nick Fontenot trolled me on a radio station in Nebraska. He went on the live chat and he did hashtag shut up, Dave. Unreal.
I love it. But I was just going on the rant about Louisiana Tech. And look, I don't like Louisiana Tech, but they're going to be our conference mate.
Sure.
And I'm talking about the pettiness, and some more stuff came out today where they're trying to move it from a court in Louisiana to a federal court in Dallas and delay it even more. What's going on with that?
Okay, so this was all going to state court, which was going to be done today, actually, right? And then probably wisely, because Conference USA is in Texas and Louisiana Tech is in Louisiana. Why are we going to do this in a state court? That would be home field advantage for Louisiana Tech. So Conference USA decide, let's go to federal court. Then they found out what judge they were going to get. And like Ole Miss, they got a law tech grad as a federal judge, as if the federal judge can't be fair. And
that's
impartial,
amazing.
Okay?
Yeah.
God forbid. Okay. So now we're going to arbitration. And I don't know if La Tech responded today or whatever, but according to Matt Bellinson, from the Ruston Daily Leader, La Tech has until April 8th to respond. I'm guessing they responded either yesterday or today.
Sure.
Or now, because everything's online, you can respond on the weekend. I presume they're not going to wait until April 8th to respond to whether they're going to arbitration or not. Now, arbitration, again, I'm doing this via whatever. I have no legal education at all. Arbitration, if it gets in front of the arbiter, it could go faster, right? It usually
always results in a settlement. So it could be even less than what Louisiana Tech was offering in the first place. I mean, it's a gamble that the league is taking.
Yes, it could be. The thing is, and as I have learned, and it really disappoints me, Conference USA may have a pretty good case. All right. La Tech may just want to fess up with the $5.5 million. The thing is, I wasn't sure what Ross Dellinger was saying yesterday, because he tweeted out that Conference USA wants La Tech to play in Conference USA. I don't know if that was a statement or because they put out a schedule, which I feel was trolling which was trolling La Tech and the Sun Belt, because they put it on. They did it so haphazardly, right? It was during the middle of the Conference USA championship basketball.
That's what I was saying. It was obviously
done
because
none
you
of the teams
said,
were ready for it.
Yeah, you said this is coming out from the belt on Friday, so it's all your fault, Dave. You see, you should.
Well, that's what happened. Yes. Well, I didn't say no. So in the order of what happened was Bellinson came on, and I asked what the deadline was, and we're going to get up to it, to where the Sun Belt is going to have to say, put up or shut up, La Tech. We got to figure this out. You're either coming in 26 or you're coming in 27. So I asked, is there a deadline? And Bellinson said, well, probably by the end of April, at the end of La Tech's spring practice. All right. So then all of that happened, and maybe I did. So maybe that episode came out, got one source, got a second source, and by the time later that day, I got a third source. I would know two of those three sources knew. I guess I put it out in the middle of the day, probably about 2:30 on Thursday, that Sunbelt was releasing their schedule on Friday. That's right. And so then in the middle of whatever was going on a Thursday, Conference USA did theirs. They were putting it out. They announced it. They told their school members at 8:35 Central Time, and then released it at 8:42 Central Time. And it caught everybody by surprise. You saw how well coordinated the Sun Belt was.
Yeah.
Everyone had their little graphics ready to go. South Alabama did the office thing. It was very well put together. And we're off and running. And we've gone from state court to federal court, now to arbitration. We'll see what La Tech's response is. But somewhere along the way, you would think that Keith Gill, although a little bit busy right now, is going to tell La Tech, do you have $5.5 million? Because we need to move forward. All right. Is Conference USA being petty or vindictive? Because if they're being vindictive, then they're like, well, it doesn't matter how much money you give us. You're going to play in Conference USA because you told us, 6 to 8 weeks late? But if they come up with $5.5 million and say, thank you very much, then let's move on. All right. That's where we are. It feels to me.
Don't you think we should hear something from the commissioner at this point? I get, but I feel silly for asking this because you never hear anything from Keith Gill. I was just raging about how he can be the chairman of the committee and show up, but I want to hear from my leadership on what we're doing proactively to prepare if that doesn't happen. And nobody,
yes,
guys like us, we have no idea what will happen if Louisiana Tech doesn't join.
There's got to be a plan B, right? If any organization that was planning on something, and this plan B had to be done, I'd say January 2nd, or at least they started trying to figure it out, right? Because this thing should have been done during last football season and certainly before the end of 2025. So even if you're in contact with La Tech, it's going to happen. Well, somewhere along the way, we don't know if it's going to happen. And so you would think that they would have a second schedule raring to go if this does not go their way. But right now, really, the only way it doesn't go the Sun Belt's way is if La Tech doesn't pay. That's what I think. I'd be impressed if somehow La Tech wins this case in court. They just need to pay up. The timing was not in their advantage. I'm sure there were, conversations as everybody knew Texas State was looking, but because my understanding is that because Texas State was still officially in the conference, even when it was announced that they were leaving, you couldn't do anything until they actually left. And so that held up the Sun Belt. And so even all those things were going on, it actually happened, right? Coastal Carolina was playing a College World Series game, and all of a sudden Pete Thamel announces, Texas State to the Pac-12 and La Tech to the Sun Belt. And so what was that? June? And then it didn't really happen for another month. And so even June was late because I think it had to be May 31st.
Who's going to well, first of all, do you think Louisiana, what do you think is going to happen in your gut? Do you think they'll just pay the money and go away? Do you think this will be settled? Do you think so?
Yep.
And who's going to end up looking bad in this whole situation from a public perspective, not reality? Like, we know reality, but we're just talking about it.
Well, if
they pay off, is this? Yeah.
If La Tech wasted everybody's time, La Tech doesn't look particularly good if they just could have paid the $5.5 million. I understand we're going to, as all negotiations start, you start low and come high, but the idea that Conference USA is sticking to their guns, now they're rolling the dice too, just because I think that La Tech would lose doesn't mean that they would. And maybe, because things have changed, right? The precedent was set with Southern Miss, but then they changed the, grant of rights stuff. And so UTEP paid more money, whatever the case is. I don't think La Tech looks pretty good. So far, nothing is affecting the Sun Belt, right? The Sun Belt doesn't look good one way or the other, or doesn't,
So I want to get
La Tech in Conference USA. Someone's going to look really bad if they got to come out with Schedule B. That would be the other thing. So La Tech doesn't look great, but as if I am Conference USA, that second schedule is raring to go as soon as that deal is announced. As soon as Pete Thamel or Ross Dellinger or
Dave Schultz,
Nick Domain, Jerry Abrams. As soon as that's announced, that schedule is done. Like, Conference USA is coordinating with the teams. Just to let you guys know, because it's never the conference who does it, right? It's never the local guys who do it. It's always the national guys. As soon as we see that being done, we are going to announce the new schedule. So just be ready.
Well, I guess I'm curious, Dave, in that you look at Conference USA's bylaws. I believe I read this correct. If I'm reading this correctly, that you have to have a 14-month notice to the conference to let them know that they're leaving. Correct? Right. Is that accurate? Sure. So, and then Louisiana Tech obviously has done that in less than the 14 months.
Correct.
So, kind of like what Southern Miss, Marshall, and Old Dominion did, they probably had a buyout in place or paid them or something.
I don't think they had the grant of rights in there, and I'm not sure it was 14 months either.
Okay. So what I'm curious about is, and I haven't really followed it as close. I've kind of watched it from the sidelines, but I am curious as to what standing does Louisiana Tech have by sending the lawsuit into CUSA if CUSA had those laws and rules in place. And I'm guessing that CUSA is basically saying you have to either grant us the, what was it, the TV revenue or something like that, Nick? Was it?
Sure. It's like for two, isn't it? For two seasons
years?
That they want?
So right.
It's basically it's for 3, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
It is for 3.
It's for this year. It's 25, 26, but La Tech has been willing to pay for 24, 25 and 23, 24.
Wow.
So it's like a buyout, basically. What Q's is saying is that's your version of a buyout. But I'm confused because I feel like some of these conferences, and as of late, right? I mean, there's been a lot of musical chairs with conference realignment, but to CUSA, aren't they kind of doing this, like just winging these deals with Louisiana Tech to get them to stay? Because I feel like after we saw, like you said, after we saw those other 3 schools leave Conference USA to go to the Sun Belt, and like you said about UTEP going to the Mountain West,
they paid $8 million bucks.
That's what I'm saying. Like, everybody has like different. There's like not double standard, but like quadruple standards of all these different schools.
So it
leaving.
changed after 22. Conference USA changed it. All right, and then UTEP left, and I think they got charged what they did because of the money that the Mountain West gives them. That's the thing. All right.
Gotcha.
I presume that. I agree with you. Why was one so much? Why is UTEP more than La Tech? All right.
Well, there's no consistency. There's no consistency as far as each school, right? Because like, I don't know if there's different circumstances depending on what conference you go to.
Well, it could be. Here would be the other thing. You know, maybe the contract is, maybe there's 3 years left on the contract or a couple years left. UTEP left right at the beginning of the contract. So maybe they owe for 4 years or 5 years, whatever is left, right? That's why that ACC thing is ridiculous, because it's like a 10-year deal.
I know, it's crazy. And you know what it tells me, Dave? We're in such a revolving door in the college world right now. I mean, it's everything. This is a small piece of just the chaos going on in college sports. This is just another day.
Yes, it is. So you guys know, despite wearing red, I am a Orange fan. I'm a Syracuse Orange fan. All right. And
which, by the way, might be, as you said, a non-power conference.
That's
team
what I think is going to happen. There's and I don't understand
that's going to happen
at
about
all.
40 schools, I think.
So I don't understand how like a team like Providence has money. Now, maybe because they live there, all right, and Syracuse isn't as big a city as Providence, but Syracuse University is like one of the most expensive schools in the nation. I am not kidding you when I'm telling you the cost to go to Syracuse for 1 year is $92,000. All right. Now, I understand that would really only pay for 10% of Nick's new mansion in Lafayette, but still, it's $92,000. You are somewhere along the way, you're sending a child to school, for retail anyways, between $400,000 and $500,000. All right. Who does? There's got to be deep pockets in there somewhere. So it's not that Syracuse is going to join the MAC out of their own volition. It's going to be, like you said, Clemson, Miami, Florida State. The ACC is going to dissolve, and I don't know where Syracuse is going to go outside of playing Ohio and Toledo, because they don't care, right? They are doing the opposite of what in Louisiana, what Tulane has done, right? Tulane, when they hired Willie Fritz, and then the following coach, they decided, and even Ron Hunter, although it hasn't worked out for Ron, they wanted to invest in sports. All right, Tulane, another really expensive school to attend. And they decided 3.5 hours is the best commercial that we can have. All right. He is an Orange. That's true. 3.5 hours on Saturday is the best commercial that we can have for our schools. That's why they play those ridiculous commercials that you guys are always upset about, that the Cajuns haven't updated in the last decade.
10 years. Yeah.
Right,
we started off the whole episode today with somebody bitching about that commercial.
So, and that's where we are. So, you gotta, there's going to be a lot of movement. The next movement is, I think, I don't know about you guys. I think the SEC and the Big Ten are going to do their own thing.
Yes.
And then the rest of us can be.
We'll do real college football, in my opinion.
What I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I think we'll do real college football and not this thing where they just pay guys.
But you can have those. Those can be, that'd be fine. It'd be better if Miami, Clemson, and Florida State joined us, but let them join them. Like you said, 40 teams over there, and they'll have a big part of the country, but we'll have the rest of the country, and we'll be fine if that's the case.
Correct. And what's ironic about that, Dave, is, I mean, if back in the 50s and 60s, that's kind of how it was without the title. I mean, if you really thought about it, like you only had a select few schools, maybe 40 or 50 schools that competed for national titles in their own league. From what I was told, within the next 5 to 10 years, I think you're going to have the Big Ten and the SEC do their own thing. And I think, talking about the ACC, Clemson right now, as we're talking, I believe behind the scenes, there's Florida State, there's Clemson, and Notre Dame. You know, they're independent, but they're ACC and other sports. They're going to join probably one of those conferences or form that super league.
I don't know, Jerry. Will they? Because they've already pissed off every power conference.
But you know what? The brand, the money, like you want to talk about a rich alumni base
I get
worldwide.
it, but
like they're going to find a way. But the problem, what I'm saying is, though, is you're only going to have like 35 teams that form this league. And you know, I'm glad you brought up Syracuse because that is a significant school that probably will be left out along with Wake Forest. And I mean, look, the first domino effect.
I mean, could Georgia Tech, Scott Cross is thinking about going to Georgia Tech. They could be left out.
And look, let me tell you, the first domino effect's already happened. Look at Oregon State and Washington State. That's your first domino right there. And there's going to be 50 to 60 more like that. And to Nick's point, I'm okay with it. Like, we already ripped the Band-Aid off, right?
Well, the
Rip
question
it off.
is, for football, it's one thing because the only thing that the NCAA runs, right? They don't run college football, right? The bowl games aren't NCAA.
They've lost
the national
jurisdiction
championship isn't NCAA, but the NCAA runs the basketball and the baseball tournaments. And so, what happens to those things? Are those two things separated?
I would be.
That's a good question.
I would be
suck.
joyful. No, I would be joyful if that happened.
Because
then they couldn't play us. They could play each other. They could beat each other up. They can do their own thing. Good luck with that. That doesn't bother me one bit.
It would get really. It would get. I mean, it'd be almost like, Major League. If you only got 40 teams,
right,
and they're playing each other all the time, and then they're playing each other in the playoffs,
and then it's boring. And I'm okay with that.
We're experiencing. Well, like take for instance, right now we're in the middle of March Madness. The reason why it's called March Madness is because the teams of like what High Point did today, right? Beating Wisconsin. You separate that league. Look, you separate that league, you're not going to have High Point winning games. You're not going to have a George Mason making a Final Four run. You're not going to have these small teams we've never heard of go and beat a 3 seed. Like, that's the point of March Madness. That's why it exists. And you've got these people like Greg Sankey talking about how they want to monopolize. I'm like, do you not understand? You're actually devaluing your own conference and devaluing your brands when you do stuff like that. Because just as much of attention it gets to the smaller schools, the big schools get the attention with it. Now, it's not on the end that they want to be on, but they still get the attention. Same thing with baseball. I mean, LSU coming to the box coming to the TIG a few weeks ago. I mean, you lose that you kill the sport. Dave, at least that's what I think. Sure. You kill the sport like that by doing that.
Yes, right. And I know it kills you guys, but LSU, I think it was, Skip and then Maneri, and now Jay Johnson does a great job of every year either going to McNeese, the Cajuns, Southeastern, Tulane, UNO, and then, they bring the, if you don't go to them, you go to, if they don't come to you, you go to them. All right. And it's never hurt LSU, right? Very rarely are they going to lose a recruiting battle. And then they learn how to play on the road, right? I mean, that was always what,
that's the only time they usually play on the road. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what 36 always taught us, right? It's not a big deal. We don't mind playing at LSU. It teaches us how to win on the road.
Loved it.
Because most likely if we get to a super regional, it's going to be on the road, right? Same thing for a regional. We'd love to host a regional, but good shot. We're most likely, going to play on the road. So, iron sharpens iron, as they say. I do have one thing that I always love it when I start talking and I make a point to myself and I realize, ooh, that may be right. So there are 5 teams as of right now in the top 40 in Warren Nolan's RPI, right? Southern Miss, Cajuns, Coastal, A-State, South Alabama didn't even play last night, and they moved up from 45 to 38 because the Cajuns beat Houston. Okay.
You're welcome, South Alabama.
There you go.
And we play all of them. I think this is where you're going with that, right?
No, that's not where I'm going.
Okay.
Arkansas State is 20. They're just on the outside looking in for a regional. I don't think they can host.
They don't have the facility.
They do not have the facilities to host.
No.
And if for whatever reason they're as good as they are right now, and we'll see, they're going to Georgia State, and so they should win that series. It's one thing if they don't host and they're like 15, 16, or 17. But if they're sitting there at a top 12 spot and not hosting, that's going to be not great, Bob. But that's a real possibility that can you host at someone else's ballpark?
We did
No.
in 2000.
No. So
We were a 2 seed.
but they don't host. They can be a number
Oh,
one.
I see what you're saying.
Because
Yeah,
ECU
yeah.
traveled to Louisiana, and we were number 2 seed, but they came
So
to
what
our
happened? Okay,
stadium.
what happened?
So ECU in 2000, our World Series year, that was, I think, the first, maybe the only time that we hosted as a 2 seed because ECU didn't have the facilities. So they didn't put in a bid because they had to bid before the season started.
Sure.
So they didn't put in a bid. They weren't approved, so we got to host. It may be a
But
similar
ECU
situation.
was still the number 1 seed.
They were
So
still the number
Arkansas
1
State
seed.
can be the number 1 seed, and all that really matters is what time you play the first game, right?
Correct.
You get to choose. As the number 1 seed, you get to choose when you play.
Was it Indiana State a couple years ago? Weren't they in a similar situation where
I
they
think
were
they
number
hosted.
1 seed?
No, I think they hosted.
they had to go on the road. There was somebody, or Tennessee. It was a Tennessee team, Dave. You remember? It was somebody from like that area.
Well, they had to. No, Tennessee ended up playing at Southern Miss because Southern Miss has a big facility.
I'm not talking about Tennessee.
There was rain coming in Tennessee, although
Right.
the rain showed up at Hattiesburg. Yeah.
I'm not talking about Tennessee Volunteers. I'm talking about there's a school in Tennessee, a smaller college that was they were like a RPI of like 7, and they had to go on the road. I want to say it was like probably about 4 years ago or 3 years ago. There was a team in that area that had to go on the road because
That
their
Indiana
facilities
State
or they
thing
didn't
sounds familiar, but I thought
I
that
think
may
it was
have been more
Indiana
about
State.
basketball.
They didn't bid. I don't think they bid for their regional spots. So they had, I think they had to go. I think it was Indiana State. They had to go on the road. I think as a 1 seed
As a
because
1 seed.
they didn't
Right.
bid.
Because they
But
didn't
Arkansas State, I'm hoping. Look, Mike Silva, what he's done over there has been
great.
miraculous.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look, I remember talking to Jay Walker a couple
Toughest
years
interview
ago.
ever, but great guy.
Why is
Super
that?
coach. He's
Kinda
just so dry.
bland.
Yeah, but he was. There was another coach that I spoke with. Needed to listen to him. I had Mike Silva. I got Mike Silva talking about golf, so he started laughing, talking about golf.
I like
Yeah. Well, Jay had mentioned, I think a couple of years ago, we were talking about Arkansas State, and I think I asked him, like, why can't they win? Like, what's their deal? And he had mentioned the geography about how they're kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere. They're secluded, and their recruiting base wasn't as great. Now that
Look
we
at
have
him now, brother.
But here's the
Well,
thing.
so
Now
the
that we got the
recruit-
portal,
here's the recruiting base. All right, I did not know this. I'm I tend to think I'm pretty good at geography, but beginning of November when it was still a little bit up for grabs where those Sunbelt Championship game may be, like Troy was far away, Hattiesburg was far away. I thought Jonesboro was the furthest away from where I live in Louisville. Yeah, Jonesboro is the closest. Jonesboro is in that northeast corner, which is basically. I don't know if they call it the tri-state area, but it is basically Arkansas, Kentucky, and Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Tennessee is right there. So it's only 5.5 hours away. But as I know, my guy, our guy, Nico Yanko, told me at Murray State, he does not have a Power 5 school or Power 4 school within 300 miles. I think he said except Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's its own little animal there.
Yeah, we don't count them.
The only thing he deals with is, Kentucky stuff in Kroger's, but the stadium's named after Kroger. So he's like, what can I do about that? But he does not deal with the stuff that the Cajuns deal with, Troy and South Alabama deal with, Southern Miss deals with. Although I feel like Southern Miss is a little bit different than the others. What Georgia State and Georgia Southern deal with. He's his own little entity out there. And I guess Murray State men's didn't make it, but Murray State women's made it. Right. So
he's got a good little thing going out there.
He does have a good little thing going. Yeah.
I'm glad you talked about baseball because I was going to ask you about all that. But since you're here, we got some exclusive clips of Des presser today. Do you want to stick around and listen to that?
Sure.
All right. Let me bring up
clips.
exclusive.
Hey,
Yeah. Hey,
That's
look.
right.
So our boy
VIP,
Will
baby.
Heron at News 15 in Lafayette gave us exclusive clips that all the other TV guys got, but it's exclusive
All right.
because I'm sharing it.
Exclusive from
some,
Will. Got it. All right.
We got some clips from Dez talking about the football team and getting into it in the fall, and we were talking about all the injuries we already are talking about having this spring. But let's get into his intro and see what Dez has to say.
Obviously, there's a lot of work to do. The two things we talked about as non-negotiables, effort and toughness. We haven't gotten the pads on yet. Luckily we'll get to do that Saturday, and we'll have them on every day until we get to the spring game. But really pleased with the effort, and that's what, those things are non-negotiable. And we have a really good young group of kids here. It reminds me a little bit of the 23 season, to be honest with you, where sat in here and said, look, we're a little young in some spots. If we can be mature and handle some things well, we got a chance to have a good football team. And at times we did. At times we didn't handle things well. So we as coaches have to not allow, history to repeat itself. That year, some of our biggest wins and some of the biggest ups that we had were followed by, some of the most disappointing things after. So for us, it's going to be about consistency with this group. Really pleased with the way they're coming out and attacking the work. We had a great off season. We got a bunch of young players right now. They're high school seniors that are here, and it ain't always pretty, but boy, they are straining and they are playing with effort. And at the end of these 15 practices that we get, they're going to be a whole heck of a lot better. And they're talented young kids. So it's been a lot of fun through 2 days. But anybody can show up for 2 days and work really hard. The question's going to be, can we take a step forward every day? And that's really all we're trying to do. So. For the first time in 5 years, we haven't had a quarterback position for the starting spot. So we create one for the second spot and let those guys go and compete. And that's been a lot of fun to see. In every room, you're trying to create some type of competition. No matter what they've done in the past or what you think they're going to do, you got to make them earn it every day. And, it's spring is like my favorite time of year. There's no opponent. There's no scoreboard. It's just about you and your team trying to get a little bit better every day, and that's the challenge, right, and the goal. And through 2 days, I'm pleased with the direction we're headed. But like I said, there's still a long way to go to determine what this team is.
Lots of coach speak there. Let's talk about the backup QB battle.
Who's really in that battle? How do you foresee that?
Well, you got Daniel and Sam Altman and Coleman Carter. Look, Daniel has really performed really well throughout times in his career. He's been put in some really, really tough situations. But he's a competitive dude, and he takes the first snaps with the second group, and he takes the first rack when we went with the ones and we put someone else in there. So it's all three of them, because I think you have to create competition. You want everybody to feel that a little bit, but he looks a whole lot more comfortable in the competitive setting right now, having had to do it last year. So, Sam and Coleman are both talented players too. They both have tools. They both do some really good things. We didn't take a quarterback for a reason. I like the room a whole lot, and I think we've got really good players in that room. They've all grown a whole bunch in the last couple of years. Coleman in his first year obviously has grown up a bunch, has to. But it's a good group, man. They competitive, and they all want to play and help this team.
Are you buying the Daniel Beal loves, Dave?
I'm not. I'll give it up for Daniel Beal that he's still there. All right.
I thought he'd be gone. I really did. I think he'd be a great McNeese quarterback, maybe FCS, but
yeah, I don't think the game slowed down for him. Obviously, he's a pretty good quarterback in high school, but it has not translated to college, not yet. And he's not wrong. Why don't you go in there on the last possession of the game against Rice and try to get down the whole field when the starting quarterback couldn't do that the entire game? So maybe you could try. So he's not wrong with that. Had to come in the year before in the bowl game when they were down not one quarterback, not two quarterbacks, but three quarterbacks. So Daniel Beal was a fourth string quarterback. So he's not wrong when he says he's been put in tough situations. It doesn't change the fact that there should have been some progression. We've seen that out of quarterbacks the more they play. the more they figure out what they can do and what they can't do and improve. I'm a little bit put off. I understand what coach is saying. We like spring ball better than we like opening day, the home opener, going on the road.
Means, right?
What is that? We don't like that. The whole reason you're there is because of the scoreboard. I understand what he's trying to say. I like to coach. This is when we can coach players, right? Because the thing is, this is when they can coach players. Because during the season, the last thing that the head coach is doing is actually coaching, right? Everybody else is doing it. He might get a couple hours a day. And everything else he's got to do, recruiting, media, alumni, 12 hours a day, and 2 of it is coaching football. So now all he has to do is coach football. Doesn't have to worry about the game plan or everything like that. But I mean, we all watch football because of the scoreboard, not because we're talking practice. His favorite time of the year.
We're talking practice. We're talking about practice.
The game, man.
And it is interesting that there is no quarterback battle for the first time in 5 years. So that's a thing. Like to see Lunch improve a little bit. He had some highs and some lows last year. He did, they had a shot at beating JMU and didn't, because Lunch didn't play particularly well, but obviously JMU really good. We'll see who the offensive line and the run. Do we have running backs? Who are the running backs? Didn't both running backs?
Well, he's going to get. We got more videos. We got some more videos coming.
More exclusive videos.
Exclusive videos.
What are we drinking there, Nick?
Let's talk about some Four Roses. Nothing crazy.
All right.
So
just on the rocks.
Yeah, just actually neat. So not even on the rocks.
Yeah. What do we got? Just a regular single barrel, or what are we doing?
Single barrel. Yeah, nothing crazy.
All
yeah,
right.
I got that Blanton Skull, but it's a Thursday. I'm not doing that tonight, right?
I tasted some Blanton Golds a couple weeks ago. That was pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I'm a little spoiled by that.
Yeah,
let's talk about, before we get to the running backs. Let's say what he has to say about using Lunch in the spring.
Will you handle Lunch as opposed to like what you did with the guys competing last year at the top of the depth chart?
So, he's going to get plenty of reps. He's taken, 90% of the reps with the ones. We're still having some of those ones reps with some of those other guys, for obvious reasons. I think it's good for them to have to go in with the ones and go compete. I think it's good for them to have to step in that huddle with those guys that have been starting and been playing. Whenever we scrimmage, he won't be live. The other ones will be. I've seen enough from him to know that he's tough. And I know he'll stand in there and he'll do those things in the pocket. Those other guys, I think that's something they can use, when you've gotten limited reps. When those bullets start flying and you're not wearing a gray jersey, it feels a little different. So they need to feel that, and we'll get the opportunity to do that with them, but certainly not with him.
And then we'll get to the running backs and we'll take comments.
He's going to be at quarterback, but your running back room, a little bit more fluid. Can you talk about what you're seeing there, and anybody get your attention? I know it's early.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's hard to say, before you're really in pads and stuff. But again, that's a group that we think a lot of. Steven played really well for us last year. Whenever he got in there, he had really good carries, had good production. Darrell didn't have as many carries. I know his production probably numbers didn't look as great, but we've seen a lot from him throughout the course of the last year and his growth. I think Darrell's going to be a really good player too. J.J. Gardner is probably one of the best athletes in that group, and to me that's saying a lot. That group is really talented, but he's a little bit different in some of the way he moves. He's just got to continue to grow up and learn the offense. And then you get Ant in there, Anthony Reagan, and he's come in and he's got a little bit different gear, So we haven't seen him in pads yet, but those 4 guys, they're competing, and they're making plays. I thought today was better than day one. I thought day one there was a little indecision at times, which is natural. Today it was faster, and they were making cuts full speed, and they were finishing, doing things. So, through 2 days, I'd say that room is wide open. But I think that room is going to be, especially, Coach Lovings does a good job, man. I've seen him coach young running backs and make them grow up fast, and he does a really good job with them. So that room will be a good room. I think whoever wins the job and, the 2 or 3 guys, whatever it is, that end up playing for us, they're going to be able to carry the load to a standard that I think everyone around here that's used to what we do is going to be used to seeing.
Yeah, Coach Lovings, I love the guy. No pun intended there, but I'm less concerned about the running back room Dave, because we always seem to figure that out. We're always stacked at that position. More concerned about who's going to be a solid number 2 behind Lunch because he's a running quarterback, dual threat.
Well,
he was injured last season, and we saw what happened when he went
Cajuns
down.
quarterbacks are always injured.
Correct.
Nobody knows to get a number 2 or number 3 ready more than Coach Desimo. All those running backs, though, are a little bit, they're all the same mold, I guess. They're all kind of stocky. No one's listed at 6 foot. JJ Garner is the biggest one at 5'10", 210. Darrell Smith, 5'8", but 200 pounds. That's good. Anthony Reagan Jr., who's a junior out of New Jersey. He transferred in from Howard, 5'9", 185. Omario Brown coming in from Arkansas State. I'm guessing he's the scat back. He's actually from New Orleans, 5'7", 180. And then Steven Blanco, 5'9", 215. So, and do we know if any of these guys can catch it out of the backfield? Because I don't remember too many screens last year from the Raging Cajuns, which would have been
nice. Blanco was strictly handoff back. No, I'm with you. There were not a whole lot of screens. And I think that might have also been by design because they leaned so much into the threat of Lunch passing and running sort of an option play on that than anything else. So I don't know. That's a good question. I guess we'll see in the fall game, spring game, excuse me.
Yeah. Screen passes may be one of those plays that I think is easy to run, and it's not. That could be anything.
We never really run them, though. Like, I can't remember the last time we were consistently
77 saying the same thing. We hate calling screens.
You go back to the Elijah McGuire days. They screened all day long.
I know. And it was a beautiful thing.
That was the Jay Johnson offense. He loved throwing screens in the open field. And most of the time they turned into long gains or touchdowns.
You just need to make one. You just need to have it blocked right and make one guy miss, and it's a good game. If you make two guys miss, then it's a great game.
That's right.
And we have 4 guys out on the O-line that are all starters for the entire spring. So we'll see how that goes. It just gets
picking up from where we left off in December.
The one play that the Cajuns haven't figured out how to do in the better part of 5 years is that wide receiver down the line screen. I know it's not really a screen pass, but you're trying to get 2 wide receivers out there, and one guy's got to block, and they can't block.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. They get it out there. You need to have one guy blocking, and it doesn't work. And usually you can get, you make one guy miss, you get 4 or 5 yards. You make 2 guys miss, you're 15. But the Cajuns very rarely break that play.
I agree, Kev. Not using the screen game should be an arrestable offense. The Saints did a really good job for a long time. I mean, they made so much.
That was the bread and butter.
That was bread and butter, man.
Dude,
and they knew it was coming.
Pierre Thomas was the king of the screen. I mean, every time he threw it to him, he wasn't the fastest, but he broke 20 tackles getting down the field.
Well, that was the one thing that
my guy Kevin Falk with the Patriots.
Oh yeah. That's all he did, man.
Yeah.
He made a living off of that. All right, Dave. So we're going to wrap it up, but I do want to, again, you can stay to the end because I want you to chime in on this. We have the gourmets section. You know what gourmets are?
I do not know. Feels like that should be someone's Cajun word of the day.
When you cook a good gravy and you're browning all your meat and you take your meat out, all that stuff that looks burnt at the bottom that you scrape off and you put some water and you make a gravy, that's gourmets. Right. All right. That's what this segment is because it's brought to you by Eat Lafayette and Lafayette Travel. Today's gourmets is a question that we just ask outside of any sports thing, but this is kind of sports related. I'll start with you, Jerry. I'll give you a little time to think about this, Dave. The favorite things that you've heard yelled at, screamed at, said at the Teague. I'll go first because I'm going to go way back. Back in 1997, 98, Kevin Cantrell days, they had an old man, Mr. Hap Bryant, that would sit right outside the old press box. And those days, you could just open the door and walk into the press box, so we heard everything. And he'd always call the umpires a mullet. And when he'd get really pissed, he'd say he'd take the mullet into the backyard and beat him on the side of the house or something. He was a mullet man. He loved saying he wanted to beat up the mullet behind the plate. Also, we had the you hang 'em, we bang 'em guy. He got in trouble one year. Do you know why he got in trouble? He put some peroxide. He went after a game into the opposing team's dugout because they all had blonde hair for some whatever they were doing. They were on a win streak. And it was an away team. And he went and put peroxide with a note. And Rome got so pissed. at him. But unfortunately, he passed away. But he was the you hang 'em, we bang 'em guy. So yeah, and then Mr. Jim Mare, he called him a turkey. He always called people a turkey, third dozen and a half. That was old school. So Jerry, favorite things you hear or funniest things you hear at the Teague that you enjoy?
Nothing is as funny, but I always got a kick, and it's a very simple phrase that most people yell, but it's the fact that it's a bunch of old Cajun men yelling is, "Come on, Blue! What was that, Blue? That's all you, Blue!"
Jerry,
and it's the way
that's
they
all you
say
got, bro. That's
and
all
then,
you got.
It's hilarious though, because they've been doing it for like, it's the same old people that have been doing it since like the 90s at the Teague, and they still do it today. As far as like anything unique, where we sit is really nothing unique that people scream. I do remember, I do remember Dallas Morris's dad bringing the washboard every once in a while
remember,
and always getting it confiscated. So there's really not a saying or anything, but that 2002 regional at the old Alex box, whenever all that hell broke loose, he brought the washboard and pissed off a bunch of LSU fans with it. So I mean, I guess it's not really as much as I don't hear the saying. The "Come on, Blues," one of my favorite ones because it's like the old Cajun people screaming it. And it sounds hilarious. Even my dad does an impression of it sometimes, which makes me laugh. But mine was nonverbal, and that was Dallas Morris's dad. He'd start playing the washboard every time we do something good, and almost every single time a security person would come and take it from him.
Mike, what you got?
What's funny is that the first thing I wrote on this paper was "You hang them, you bang them, baby." So
remember that guy? Yeah.
There's an older crowd next to us, a section over, that still says it all the time. "You hang them, we bang them, baby." He also said he started saying "Let's go thickums." So for Lee.
By the way, the other night I called Lee all night. Every time he went up to bat, "Let's go, big booty!" And then I started having the rest of the fans start saying, "Let's go, big booty!" And I'm like, I'm really a grown ass man screaming "Let's go, big booty" to this college baseball player. Like, creepy as hell, but it's funny. I just gotta say. And thank you, Cole, for your son bringing that up. That's a thing. So
he still's got that reputation, the "Let go thickums," and then the best one is "Turn 2." Whoever says that at the very top, I don't know who he is. It's traditional. It's historic. That's probably my favorite one.
That used to be Mr. Oh gosh, what was his name? He passed away. Man, we have so many great fans who have passed away. But there was a gentleman who he got every single trivia question right, and he would do the turn 2 thing, and he would travel to every away baseball game. He was just an amazing fan. Passed away a couple years ago, I think during COVID.
And this isn't during a game, Nick, but I got to give an honorable mention to our friend, Mr. David Falk. Between the doubleheaders would go soothe us with his swamp pop tailgating at the Teague, at the old Teague. And he would run.
A bowling and a husband tailgating at the Teague. I mean,
he would run. And look, he would run to each section and soothe each section with
he wouldn't
tailgating at Teague Moorfield, and it was every doubleheader. Every doubleheader, y'all would give him the mic, and he would soothe us.
Chase him around. We had to cut him off. Dave, your favorite Teague moments, and as far as what people.
Well, so most of my Teague moments, obviously, if not all of them, were in the press box.
Right.
So it's probably Kevin Foote complaining about Jose Altuve running the base pads, or some guy telling me every night the answer is not Ron Guidry. I don't know who that guy was, but
I don't know. That guy's
some guy talking about not Ron Guidry.
Terrible.
I do have this guy, so grew up in Syracuse, went to Syracuse Chiefs games. They're now owned by the Mets, but they were a Blue Jays and Yankees affiliate. So my father was friends with this guy, and we were sitting right behind. My feet may have been on the dugout. All right, that's how close we were. So the guys were getting in the batter's box, and he's looking for his helmet, which is on top of the dugout, I guess. And the guy we were with, my father's friend, says, "Having trouble finding the square one?" And then the guy just started laughing. The batter just started laughing at that, right? Because they're all round. He's looking for the square one, can't find the square one. So even the hitter got a kick out of that one. No.
That's awesome. I gotta say, look, press box moments. Now we can start talking about that. We called, you remember those little like wireless intercoms you had that would go between the two press boxes. You remember that? We called it the Dan McDonald Communicator 3000 because as soon as like he was waiting, if it was 2 outs with number 22 at bat and a 2-2 count or a 2-1 count, as soon as that second ball hit, Yahtzee, Yahtzee, like he would do that every single Yahtzee, and we fake being excited about it. So Dan had that, and then Kevin Foote. Dave, you notice Kevin Foote would call things stupid and just stupid this and stupid that, but he never cursed. I've known
curse.
Kevin since I was a teenager.
No.
That man never cursed,
Nope.
but he had a very colorful way of just. He could
funniest
say
video
things.
is game 1 of the Astros' first World Series victory when he's sitting there with Glenn and Glenn Gilbo in the offices, just having a weird camera angle.
You
and
idiot.
they're live streaming his reaction, and he gives up a home run, and so stupid. That's why.
Well, that's
stupid.
That's what inspired.
He was turning red,
And he's sitting there. You
I
idiot.
have video of that somewhere. It's posted. It's online, but I had to go back and record it on my phone, and you can hear me laughing / crying because it is just hilarious. That whole episode.
That
It's like
inspired
a minute
them.
and a half video, and I said, do we need to get emergency medical attention for Foote because it looked like his head was going to literally explode.
That's what inspired them to record the rest of the live stream because of that reaction. So like that entire World Series, they did every game.
Yeah.
And what's funny is
he and Call Cat, Stevie P was there
Stevie
too.
P,
and that
Danny
was horrible.
Broussard, and what's hilarious. What's hilarious is that like there was one. I think it was Game 3, and the Astros. It was at Minute Maid. The Astros won that night, but I forgot who got the base hit, but McCann, who he was a slow runner, is like rounding second, and I'm watching the game while watching Foote, and McCann is like, he's just hustling. He's trying to run. The poor guy, he was kind of bigger and stockier, and you just hear Foote, run faster, run faster. It's just like,
man, I used to
try to run as fast as he can, man.
Dave, I worked the agate page at the Advertiser back in the day with Kevin, and he'd get so pissed when people would call in and not give the right format for the stats.
Sure.
He would literally break things before he cursed. The man just wouldn't curse. He'd kick.
I can't imagine.
Stupid.
Are those live streams up somewhere? Because I was.
I'm sure.
You could probably find them.
So it would have been game 5. Which game ended at like 12:30 or 1 o'clock?
That was Game 5. Yeah.
So I was at that game. All right. I literally did the post game, put up videos, and went to bed for 2 or 3 hours before I got up to do my own show before driving back. I never even thought about going back and watching Foote in those extra innings. That must have been unbelievable.
It's something. Yeah. No,
I'm
surprised he's still alive.
It's amazing because so we're all wondering how Tony Vitello is going to do, right? Going from Tennessee, where you're trying to win every single game. Midweek games, maybe not so much, but you're still trying to win every single game. You're trying to win every single game in the big leagues, but you know you're going to lose at least a third of them, right? You just know it. Kevin Foote does not accept that fact.
No, he does not.
He plays to win 162 times a year.
And it's a disaster when they lose, brother.
You tell Kevin you can't win them all. He says, why not? He is intense. He is intense on a Wednesday game against the Twins as he is on a 2 out of 3 series against the Rangers or the Mariners. It is phenomenal. He brings the intensity every single game.
And Dave, look, if the Stros score 10 to 15 runs, that next game's going to be tough because they scored too many runs.
And not only will be a shutout, but it'll be no hit.
Yep, they're going to lose because they scored too many runs.
My favorite moment, I used to run the board back in the day, like early 2000s. He'd have his show, Footnotes, on KPEL, and I'd run the board. And there was one game where I think it was Delhomme was playing quarterback for the Panthers, and he beat us. And he's like, you know what I don't like? After the game, they go and they shake hands. Like, that's your competitor. You shouldn't like him. You should never shake hands with your competitor. He was so pissed.
That could be a generational thing, although Foot and I are basically the same generation. That was the way my father was. Like
my dad too. Yeah.
Why are they yapping over at first base? They're not supposed to like each other.
Exchange jerseys. That must blow his mind at this point.
Yes. That was not like my father would go to games. Like no one was ever talking at first base, right? Your spikes, Ty Cobb wasn't, making friends. He was coming in there, spikes up, right? And now all these guys, everybody knows everybody.
I have so many great memories going to lunch with Foot and Big Dave and watching those two interact. I would just sit there and watch. I wouldn't say anything and just watch those two go back and forth. Because Foot, and I'll say this because I love Kev. He cracks me up. But I'll never forget the summer going into the 2010 football season. The Saints were defending Super Bowl champions. We had just won the Super Bowl. We're all on our high horse. We're all going crazy. We're all excited. And going in the offseason, going into 2010, we had obviously high expectations. Well, of course, we opened up the 2010 season against Minnesota. It was a rematch of the NFC Championship game on a Thursday night in the Dome. And Foot, now this is in like July, Dave, okay? And Foot is sitting there at the table so worried. He goes, man, after what happened last year, Minnesota's had all offseason to think about what happened in January. And I'm so nervous about it. I don't know if we might start the season 0-1. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, what? And Dave goes, man, you worry too much. Eat your plate of food in front of here. Cause he's like, we're in July. What you mean? He's like, man, it's just that's on their mind. Brett Favre and Brad Childress and those guys and Adrian Peterson. They've been thinking about that.
After they won the Super Bowl?
Yeah. After we won the Super Bowl. Yeah, he's like, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember that as I don't think we might have some trouble in September. I'm like, okay.
Gotta love Kevin, man. And we beat him, by the way.
And we won.
It was amazing. Yeah. Hey, Dave, before we go, I just want to say, I want to give you a Hall of Fame that I got to work with as a 19-year-old in Lafayette, but a Hall of Fame sports writers in Lafayette, Bruce Brown of the Advertiser, all-time GOAT, Kevin Foote, Joni Bro, Outdoors, you might not know him, Pete McIntaggart ended up, I think he was with Sports Illustrated. He might be with a big publication now since that. Dave Friedlander wrote in Atlanta. I got to sit with a lot of really, really good sports writers back in the day. So, I miss the old time sports writers like those guys. I think Kevin's the last of his kind. Dave's still doing his thing, but man, that was a good time, brother. Dave,
well, I would keep doing your guys' thing.
Yeah.
And you may get some competition, modern. Just throwing it out there. Sports talk is not thriving in Acadiana from what I saw.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like Jamarcus started a podcast and
right.
Look, I think that's, what's so funny is that people expect us to all hate each other. Like they probably expect, somebody said, Dave Schultz, you must hate him. I'm like, why would I hate Dave? Well, he's competition. I'm like, no, he's not. But like, we don't hate the guy. Like we need more Jamarcuses and like the Fishbowl, they do their thing. It's not great, but it's wonderful for like the more we have,
coverage,
the better
man.
it is.
Coverage, yes.
So we do need more.
And especially, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Even though one station, well, the flagship station doesn't do any local sports talk.
I know, that's insane.
The other station does a bunch of local sports talk, but we'll see if that station is around 18 months from now.
Yeah,
yes, sir. I agree.
I talked to somebody in media just the other day, and he kind of gave me the whole runaround of Lafayette media right now, and it's bad
worrisome. Situation, man.
It's worrisome.
Bad situation. Yeah. But Dave, I know we know how to find you, but tell us again how to find you.
Well, you can find me at SchultzyCast. We're doing all the social media now. I got a TikTok, Instagram. Shockingly, my views are way up as I'm using social media. All right. And here's the other thing I learned because I didn't want to get in trouble at work. I recorded the halftime recap during work, but didn't post it until tonight.
Brilliant.
So it wasn't exactly timely, but who cares with social media, right? We see these video clips from 3 days ago. And so it popped, right? Like any good views that I get is, somewhere around 400 or 500. This did like 1,200.
Nice.
And it had nothing, Nebraska blew Troy out. But the cool part was, if you go find it, it was in the warehouse. But I didn't want to get in trouble at work for posting it during work, but I just recorded it. I posted it after work. So we'll see if I get in trouble anyways.
Yeah, well, you just let it out
So
here.
you can find me Locked On Sunbelt or Schulte Cast or something along those lines. Look at RC Landry, always having my back. I see you.
Yeah, man. Dave, this has been awesome. We need to do it more, brother. This was a lot of fun.
Please let me know.
All right, boys. For
Thanks,
my boy
guys.
Jerry, for Mike, for Dave, I am Nicholas. Thank y'all for joining us. That's all I got for tonight. We got a big series coming up this weekend. And as always, until next time, y'all go Cajuns.
And we are joined with a
What my chief say, I'm walking up the street painted like Sting, painted like E Honda. Don't let me get behind you, coming with a cloud of ganja. I pass the same time as walking to South Liberty. I told the engine I'm too pretty for you to be ribbing me. St. Joseph night, no killing me. I was sewing, hustling, working for the Mardi Gras. Carnival in New Orleans, I'm outside. Everybody talking about boy, you're so cold. It's only one Super Sunday, it ain't